Ghouls next door.
Yeah, that's right. This is our month. This is about us.
I didn't know that's where we were going, but yeah, equally enthusiastic about the fact that October is here.
This is about us, Kat. This is our time to shine. Every other month is a joke.
Oh my God. What will they do? We cannot be stopped.
This is where we get our ultimate power. It's like getting all the Dragon Balls in one room.
Oh my God.
Is that how it works?
Well, no, because the wish is like this whole time.
Okay. Well, my wish is that, everyone else loves us on Halloween.
Listens to our words, man.
Yes.
Internet, what's up?
Yeah, welcome. This is October.
Spooky.
Yeah, we're starting the spooky month off great. We're going weekly.
Yeah, get spoopy, get excited.
Yeah, you got to listen to us like all the time now. We have so many more words for your ears.
We're going to teach you. We're going to learn you some stuff. Learn you real good. And then we're starting a series just for the month of October, which is our classic horror series. Woo! And we're kicking it off with one of our favorite spooky gentlemen, which is Edgar Allan Poe for our 26th episode. We wanted to talk about some classic OG horror people. Like, these are the people we have to thank for why we exist.
Yes.
Like, why?
They aren't our parents, but...
No. But, I mean, like, this podcast. Like, the reason why the Ghouls Next Door exists is because horror exists, and it's because of these amazing people we're going to shine lights on.
Yeah, they did the first thing. They were the real OGs.
Yeah.
Doing stuff and spooking people.
In,
like, eloquent words that are, like, you don't realize they're scary till, like, after. You're like, oh, yeah.
Like, why am I so uncomfortable?
It's because they said smart words, but it was also spooky times.
Yeah. But that's how everyone talked back then, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We were smarter then. And so today we're gonna talk about the king of horror, Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes.
Mr. Edgar Allan Poe.
Yep.
And we're gonna talk about why he's important.
Because he influenced all the things.
Mm-hmm.
He was the precursor for all the scary.
He's like the motivation for all the goth kids in school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Though I'm an artist.
Yeah. A starving artist.
Yeah, that whole like tortured heart thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you become a successful writer and creative type, is that you're in pain. And you use that pain to make art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a tragic person. He had a tragic life. And he was slandered.
Mm-hmm.
And his name... Well, they tried to slander his name and it just made people like him more.
Yeah.
So
I mean, when your whole mantra is pain and people write like crappy stuff about you, it just makes it seem like your life was harder, and that's like makes you better in the eyes of the people who are like, yeah.
Yeah, and then you're like, opium.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember anything. I don't feel things. Also, murder's bad. You'll feel bad about it. Yeah, I don't
feel things yet. I feel everything.
For me, yeah, I mean, Edgar Allan Poe is what you learn about in school. Mm-hmm. And you don't realize, like, how much he influences until you're, like, looking.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, wait a second. Goes deeper than what I previously thought.
It's definitely one of those things where you learn about and you're like, why are we learning about this? And then it's like, oh, every single pop culture thing has, like, references to this.
He's just classic.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, I really love Florence and the Machine, the band. And Florence Welch.
It's like a general rule, but then also.
Yeah, she's just amazing, beautiful soul, and her work has inspired me in many ways for a lot of written things that I've done. But specifically, her song "Bird Song" is like listening to it. I was like, oh, this definitely is the Telltale Heart, and it's just told so beautifully, because usually like you just have like people who are trying to be edgy, and so they're like, I'm gonna just rip off this story. But she like found the like really, really important, beautiful parts of like guilt and like how it manifests, and then she put it into this beautiful song, and it's like spiraling in and out. So if you guys haven't listened to it, we're gonna post the video so that you can see the lyrics. But it's essentially, this woman has done something. There's a bird outside who saw what she did and then is singing a song that's essentially ratting her out, or birding her out. And then she like tries to silence the bird by killing it, and then I believe eating it. And then she, like, in her dreams, like, things change, and when she wakes up, the only sounds that are coming from her mouth is that song from that bird that was ratting her out or birding her out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like the Telltale Heart, which we'll tell you about. We'll telltale it.
I think like the Telltale Heart in and of its like that's the one that's told the most. Like it's the thing you see everywhere. So many shows have just like done either like hokey versions of it or like have used it as part of like a comedy, even though it's told in a horror way. But then also it's just like the message is the most universal. It's like you do something bad and the guilt from it is going to sneak up on you.
Yeah.
And it's just like, just because you hit it doesn't mean it, you know it happened and it's going to haunt you.
Yeah. It's definitely about being haunted and like taking life for granted. And like also, I think it's like one of the first times you're really introduced to like the unreliable narrator is in Poe's work.
Yeah.
Like, we'll talk about some of our favorites, but specifically thinking of, like, the Cask of Amontillado, which was, like, that's a really unreliable narrator. You have someone, like, from The Black Cat, also unreliable, even though he's kind of a little reliable. But it's, like, this cool where he always has these narrators telling you the story, so you can really only take what they give you, but then you, like, kind of think and dissect all the words and all the colors, and everything means something.
Yeah. Like
it's
in
deep,
life.
man.
Yeah, deep.
Man, it's deep. So we're going to talk about Edgar Allan Poe. But, yeah, remember that this is our spookiest month. So rate, comment, subscribe.
Or will haunt you from your lack of liking us. It will haunt you like a beating heart underneath the floorboards of your life. You can't see my eyes, but
Quoth
they're wide.
the raven.
What's up?
Quoth the cat.
Subscribe.
Dun, dun.
Or I haunt you.
Dun, dun. Dun, dun.
That's not my heart. That's my footsteps approaching your life.
Dun, 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 dun. It's like, for me, it's like one thing and I don't know if this will be in there, but was there's like the Alice in Wonderland film with Johnny Depp, and it's like, why is the raven like a writing desk? And there's not really an answer to that, but I always thought it was because Poe wrote on them. Like, he writes on a writing desk, and he wrote about a raven.
Yeah. I mean, probably. Sounds real.
I'm smart.
Yeah.
Okay.
SMRT.
All right. So, prepare to be spooked. All month, we're going to bring you classic horror.
Yeah.
Every week. It'll be new.
If you're bored of it, oh well, because it's happening every week.
Stay tuned, love us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Facts. Yeah, facts. We tell you facts. All the facts. Here facts. Still facts. About that spooky stuff. Yeah, spooky stuff.
All right. So we're going to tell you a little bit about this guy. You know, the one that we mentioned earlier, Edgar Allan Poe.
Poe show.
See, you did it. I wanted to say funnies,
It
and I
just came
can't.
into my brain.
It's fine. Gabe can be funny today. Just today. Just kidding. She's funny all the time. We love her. Okay, so info on Poe. I got a tragic tale to tell you.
He once was a lowercase p, but now he's an uppercase p. He's the OG.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just, you can really tell from every single media element that we had from it, as well as all of his stories, Poe had a hard life. Mm-hmm. He wasn't just floating about doing the fancy time thing. He was like, everything's hard and I'm sad about it. So, but like justifiably so. Lots of people died.
Poe boy from a Poe family.
Spending his life.
Monstressor.
Monstrosity. Yeah, so, doing that. So essentially, both his parents died, or one left, dad things, doing bad dad times.
He went out to get cigarettes.
He went out to get cigarettes and never came back.
Or opium or something.
He went out to get opium. He turned left at the corner. There was a sign that says, go back to kid or go get opium. And he went to go get opium and, just never came back.
Classic.
And his mom was like, oh, that sucks.
I'm dead.
I got this really angsty kid here now. What am I going to do? I'm going to just die.
He was 1 year old when his mom died. So if he was in any way already that.
As you said, he is a tiny boy with a mustache and a sad face.
Yeah, brooding little boy in the 1800s.
I'm wearing a suit, Mother. There's a raven.
Mother, can I have this pet raven?
It will sing forever.
Nevermore, it says, Mother, nevermore. Well, I'm going to die because this is
a lot.
This is super... Damn it, I had a whole thing.
I don't know, man.
This is...
It's a time.
I me say something about death. Like, death is cooler.
It waits for no one.
Death waits for no one, and I'm taking the first bus there because you were the worst brooding child. So that's his mom. No, I'm sure she loved. I'm sure she loved him.
I'm sure she loved him a bunch. We're saying a lot of mean things. She just
died. People died a lot, like real quick, real easy.
I mean, honestly, you can just tell. He only lived to 40. His wife lived to 24. Mm-hmm. So she got a whole 10 years of marriage.
Yeah.
14 years old.
And his cousin.
So yeah, Poe's life was just really tragic. He was orphaned. He was not even real adopted.
Yeah.
He was fake adopted. They were giving out free kids in the street. Put him in a box with the kittens. And it was just like,
sir, can I have some more?
Some love and family. So basically, like, just left him out there. And we're like, free kid. Cool. I'm going to take this home. This will make my wife happy. And then didn't. They were all very unhappy the entire time. And essentially,
kids cost money.
Yeah,
and
kids
nobody
cost money.
had those.
You have to pay for them to exist. And they got in a lot of fights about money. Essentially, Poe was like, I want to learn. I'm really sad. I need to learn how to write about stuff.
I'm sad and I'm smart. He said smart because he's from Boston.
I'm smart. Pa,
I'm smart. Ma,
I'm wicked
Pa,
smart.
I'm wicked smart. How about them apples?
I don't have an accent. What school in Boston like? Send me there.
Just school, yeah.
School. Pa, send me to school.
How about them
smart.
Apples? You raven?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, he was smart. He went to secondary school, but then dropped out because money. And essentially released one of his first works at 18 years old.
Because he didn't need school. He was that cool.
Yeah, he Zuckerberged it.
He did.
He invented...
We can't all do that.
The Raven.
He invented scary.
Yeah.
He invented Facebook. Guilt.
Yeah.
And he invented the murder of people and animals and putting them inside your buildings. In various parts of your home.
Yeah.
And then ratting yourself out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest thing is, like, it seemed like throughout his life he was made to feel guilty for existing. I mean, so honestly, sad. That really seems like what it is. Like, he was constantly guilted for being, like, this money drain on this family that didn't have to take him in kind of thing. Mm-hmm. He had that guilt from, like, his father leaving and his mother dying shortly after, probably blaming himself even though he was 1 year old because kids don't know how to cope with loss in that way.
And then he became a dick
for all his, like, failures. Like, he tried to join the army, he failed. He tried to, like, go to college. He technically failed because he had to drop out.
Yeah.
And,
so then he was like, I'm going to be a dick to everybody else and write all these reviews where I talk about them and their mamas.
Yeah. So he also just like got the way he made money was writing scathing reviews about people, and then also like making them feel like they were the worst thing. Like he didn't just insult their work; he insulted their families and like their personalities and just like their existence as a whole. So like there was nothing safe from the reviews of Poe. Like he was really mean and
like your mama's so fat she's in the castle while everyone's dying of bubonic plague, and then the plague comes in there and kills her.
Yeah,
That's and they're like, damn man, that's
Griswold,
like real.
whatever your name is.
That was really rude.
Griswold.
Griswold was a guy who did not like him.
Yeah, and essentially the only thing
Notorious
he's
rival.
known for is writing his first back.
On Edgar, where he tried to slander his name, but
Couldn't.
because it worked in his favor. He was like, man, he was an alcoholic womanizer who slept around and was really sad. And everyone's like, wow, that sounds dope. I want to read about him.
He's so sad and angsty.
Yeah.
I love him.
Oh my God.
Mother, the grumpy man. He hurts so much. I can fix him with love.
It's just like
It
all
was
those
the beginning
really,
of Nick Miller.
it's like all those weird like murderinos, like the weird people who are like will go to like Jeffrey Dahmer's like house because they're like, we sympathize with this monster. That's what they were doing with the Poe that they thought they were knowing about.
Yeah, I mean, there's just like this glorification of like pain, I think, that comes with art and writing in general. Like there's the starving artist, there's the you can't be happy and write. Like it doesn't seem like those are things that people attribute to each other. It's always pain and suffering and trauma that makes art beautiful. And that's like the pain is what makes the piece. You don't get to be happy and creative and artistic, and
you have to struggle. Like you have to bleed for your art. And that's like, I feel like, there were times when he had good life. He had a good life when he was here in Philadelphia, like us. We also had a good life here. And then, things got bad again. Because like he published like The Raven, he got super popular. So when he lived in New York, and it was terrible because that's what it is. And then like, he published all these stories. He, created really amazing works. He had the Tales of the Grotesque and Arabesque. And he was like kind of getting money for it. And people were coming from all over to listen to him. And then his wife died.
yeah.
His child bride.
But it was
Annabelle Lee.
Jesus.
Of the Sea. I don't know.
But like what was interesting is like the reason they left New York is not because she was dying. It was because like his name was getting slandered because his name was getting big and he was like doing questionable things in that. So as a running theme, his guilt caught up with him. Like his actions haunted him and forced him to try to run away. And he tried to run away and he couldn't because they caught up with him, and then his wife died.
Sadness. Well, she died from tuberculosis, not from like him.
specifically.
He didn't do it. Well, or did he?
She's in the walls.
Get her out.
But yeah, so essentially, he lived a really hard life, and he had a few good years here and there. But when you only live to 40, you only got so much time. You're already 3/4 of the way done by the time you've ruined a bunch of things. So it's like you don't got much recovery.
When teen angst is like half your life.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, you don't get much left after that.
That's so sad.
Teen angst, adult angst.
Yeah.
You don't get to elderly angst.
Yeah.
There's not enough
1800s
time.
were rough.
You know.
They were tough on it. Well, like I said before, he lived in Philadelphia.
Woo!
Which is where
That's
we
where we
live,
live.
and it's beautiful. Eagles. Eagles. So he lived here, and this is when he was the happiest and most productive he's ever been.
Woo!
We also are, I want to say the happiest
We're
and
hungry.
most productive. We're hungry. Yeah. He lived here between the years of 1838 and 1844, and he lived in several homes. But there's one that's still standing, and you can come visit it like we did. And it's awesome. It's super cool. So it doesn't have, most of the rooms don't have any furniture, but you can kind of like take this tour and see.
They're all on the walls.
He puts everything in the walls.
People.
And under the floorboards. He doesn't understand where it's supposed to be. But yeah, you could take like a tour and see like, you know, what rooms were for. Like this was his living room. This is his brooding room, whatever. But what's really cool is his basement, which is eerily similar to the basement that's told in the story of the Black Cat, which is, if you guys aren't familiar, it's a cool story where
Super cool.
this guy is a violent alcoholic,
Nice.
kind of like Poe himself, who has violent outbursts to
Oh,
his
wow.
family and to his several pets. He has an abundance of pets, but there's one pet that he doesn't hurt, and that's his black cat, until one day he does, and the cat like lashes back out at him because it's like, fuck you, man, like,
Don't murder your pets. It's not cool.
yeah. Then he hangs it, and
Oh, Jesus.
and then another cat shows up, and this cat is all black as well, except it has white on its tail that looks like the gallows, which is like reference to the fact that he hung that cat. And then
Rude.
he like goes about being fine. He's kind of skeeved out about this weird cat with his ominous tail. But then he he gets mad at the cat, and he goes to like swing this axe on the cat, and the cat moves fast because it's a cat, and he ends up
As they do.
he ends up axing his wife right in the head. And then he's
Yeah.
like, what do I do with this body? Well, there's this perfectly good wall I could just dismantle and put her behind. And then he does that. And then the cat's not there. And he's kind of just like, well,
That's
cats
weird.
hide places. That's fine. And then the cops just show up. And they're like,
It's real nonchalant about just murdering his wife.
yeah. And then the cops show up and are like, hey, we're just going to take a look around. And they're in the basement. And they're totally fine. They believe him that nothing is wrong. They're like, oh, your wife's just not home. That's fine. It's normal. No one, we're going to leave. And he's like,
We're
have you
cops.
seen how beautiful my walls are?
Look at the walls in detail.
Look at these beautiful walls. I'm going to caress them with my hands. You should caress them. Look how amazing they are. They don't even look like they're a day old. Like I just put it up yesterday.
I'm
because
not
I
doing
killed my
this because
wife.
I feel guilty.
And then,
Don't be suspicious of the walls I'm rubbing.
the cat meows and he's like, this is just my house meows.
My house is a cat. We're inside of the cat.
I forgot to tell you. And so then the police are like, oh no, we should save the kitty. And they break through the wall, and then there's his dead wife. And the cat is on her head, just sitting there.
You know.
So you could see that basement, or something akin to it, an inspiration to it, in Philadelphia, because we're
Do
the
it.
spookiest of the places.
There's lots of spooky stuff here.
It
Like
is.
us. We're here. We're spooky.
He also wrote one of his really awesome stories here, which was The Murders in the Rue Morgue, which he relied on what he calls tales of ratiocination, which is one of the first modern detective novels where a character uses logic
Whoa.
and thinks about the facts and the clues of a case to determine
way.
what had happened.
Huh.
Yes.
I never.
Who would have thunk
Who would have thunk it?
that I, 45 years before Sir Arthur Conan Doyle could talk about Sherlock Holmes, that I would use logic
Yes.
instead of just screaming
Look
maniac.
at my walls.
Instead of screaming maniac men
Under
who
the
rip
floorboards.
apart their homes, which they've buried people in, or just like prematurely or after they're dead, whenever.
I mean, if anything, you just learn, like, don't put the dead thing in your house.
Maybe just don't murder people for stupid reasons.
Let's not go that far. I think we should just agree that you don't murder somebody and then put the murdered pieces inside, like, the place you gotta be every
And
day.
then scream it at the authorities.
Yeah, human guilt.
In the floor!
Look there!
So you can see where he made that really cool story. And he also there's one room that does have furniture in it, and that's the one that is specifically about his story called The Philosophy of Furniture.
For fancy people.
Yeah, which detailed instructions on how to tastefully decorate a room in, like, it's satirical because it's talking about newly rich middle class. So it's like people who are spending superfluously, even though they, aren't really, worthy of that spending. It's just like, look how happy we are. We have a fancy chair. You can lounge in that one.
The chair has no purpose but to sit.
Yes.
It's like, no, that's
And
what
we
chairs
spent
are
an
for.
abundance of money on it because we're not poor. We are, but, You don't think so because you can sit in a fancy chair.
And, you know, people are dumb. That's why I don't get it. Like, that's why I don't spend more than $5 on any of my clothes.
That's why?
Yeah.
That's the specific reason?
It's definitely up
Your
there.
Poe aesthetic?
I mean, it's just like, you don't need the thing. I don't get it. If you don't need it, if you're not going to use it, don't get it.
Yeah. Well, that's
Or don't
good.
spend a lot of money
Yes,
on it.
yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Poe is smart.
Yes. Well, yeah, and it was like, and I think what's great about specifically that room or this house is like you're kind of brought to the attention that he didn't just have like this one type of writing, because you have like the Black Cat, which was horror and you reminiscent of Telltale Heart, and then you have the the Murders in the Rue Morgue.
Believe in you.
The Murders in the Rue Morgue, which is a detective story. And then you have a satirical piece that's about furniture, which is really just laughing at the bourgeoisie. So it's like
he had
he's
a lot of social
multifaceted.
commentary pieces. Like, it wasn't... His whole thing was just like evaluating the human mind. Just being like, you feel guilt. You feel lust. You feel just being crazy and stupid. You feel like putting on a face and being fake and stupid. Like, a lot of it. Like, he always had like a story to tell that was either poking fun or being like, yo, people are messed up. Did you know?
For me, it kind of reminds me of like Freud and how it's like he was like,
It was in the head.
he's like, I want to have sex with my mom. And I'm always thinking of sexual things because I'm on drugs. But everyone else must also feel this. I can't be all by myself. And it's not just me. And so I feel like Poe was like, I'm really depressed. I'm really sad and get violent when I have alcohol. And I'm a womanizer. And I'm really a dick to all my peers. And I also am incredibly poor. Everyone else must also feel this way. I'm not alone.
And
Death
I'm
is
gonna
upon
write
us.
about it. Everyone is ready for death.
Death is lurking around every corner, whether it's at the hands of the person who's supposedly taking care of you in your creepy eye, or it's tuberculosis.
Yeah, I mean, he really just had like an obsession with murder and like death itself.
Yeah,
just, like,
death.
Anything involving death was
And
just, like,
justice. Yeah. And justice
sure.
that's brought upon in either in
guilt.
some kind of supernatural way, whether that's like your guilt is overrunning you, or it's like literally the mask of death shows up at your fancy house door and then murders your entire castle full of philanderers.
that one's just very like Marie Antoinette-esque.
Yeah. Marie.
Or whatever the words.
She's French.
Marie
Marie Antoinette.
Antoinette.
Let them eat cake. Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, top of her head then.
He was definitely against the bourgeoisie.
Yeah.
He was super like
He's
socialist.
just a po' boy from a po' family.
Yeah. He was. Yeah, and he's who we
sad,
should.
Gabe?
I'm sad, just like everyone else is
Why
sad.
don't you write about it?
Everyone is sad. Don't you
murder
know?
me and put me in the wall.
I will deduce the mystery using the clues of the beating of the heart. I'll bury you alive, and I won't tell anyone about it till it's too late because you're already dead and now you've haunted us.
Charlie's in the walls.
No! It'll be your cat. She's black. Look at her.
What'd you try to say? Ken, what do you got to say about that? She just discriminated against you.
She blinked me. So, yeah, I think Edgar had a tough life, but I also don't think he was a great person either.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like he also got he got a real bad hand.
For sure.
Right out the gate, he was dealt some really awful things, and then just kind of living with that. But instead of just becoming an alcoholic and being abusive to his wife, he did that, but then he also wrote amazing stories that have now impacted the works that we have today.
Yeah, he was really the OG life is pain kind of guy.
Yeah.
Look at me.
The
I'm
founder
Poe.
of the gothic.
I'm Poe, look at
emo.
me. Existence is pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just really wanted to
Sadness.
die, man.
He was the first emo. He's like, you'll never understand me. But also, everyone's gonna die. It comes through all of those. ravens and other black animals.
I am sad.
I'm so sad.
Read my work. Or don't.
But give me lots of money anyway. I need it. Have you met my child wife?
Film. Yeah, films. Yeah, films. We watched some films. Now let's talk about those films. And all that spooky stuff. And all that spooky stuff.
What's the word?
Ding, 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 ding. Easy come, easy go. Willie, let me go.
No.
No, no. He will not let me go. Let him go.
No.
Yeah. So, Edgar Allan Poe. I don't know why I said it like that, but that's it.
I don't know either. I'm
Well, this
also observing this for the first time.
I don't know. I'm feeling goofy. So we watched a thing. We watched a film
No way.
anthology, an animated.
We
film
never do that.
anthology. We watched Extraordinary Tales, which is from 2013. It is a animated anthology featuring 5 tales adapted from Edgar Allan Poe's stories, featuring the voices of Christopher Lee, Bela Lugosi, which we'll be talking about later this month, and Julian Sands, who narrate the Edgar Allan Poe stories such as The Telltale Heart, The Pit and the Pendulum, The Fall of the House of Usher, The Facts in the Case of M. Valdemar, and The Mask of the Red Death.
Yeah.
It's dope.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that really blew me away about it is like nothing to do with Poe, unfortunately, but like the art style in each one, like it was so unique. They really just like, it was beautiful. It was like breathtaking to watch each one. Mm-hmm. Like just the way it was presented, the like music even. I didn't really love the like middle scenes where it's like, death is talking to you. Poe, when will you join me? I have taken all your other friends. Well, and it's like, I get the point. I just like, personally, I don't know why I didn't like it. I just didn't. There's no logical reason. It was still good.
Yeah.
But the things themselves, the like stories,
Mm-hmm.
the way they were presented was just like one, just like a beautiful presentation, but also just like I think a great tribute to the stories themselves.
Yeah.
They're really
And it
good.
featured like some of these, notorious like people for horror. So you have like Bela Lugosi, you have Guillermo Del Toro is in there, Christopher Lee, which is amazing. But like as soon as you hear him talking about the fall of the House of Usher, you're like, I know who this is. I'm experiencing it, and it's such a rich like well to drill from, because like I said before, his films or his stories are narrated, so it's like we get to just paint these pictures visually, and then you get to have this strong voice that's like compelling and telling you and emoting all of this like stress and then excitement from what's happening. Even for like a story like The Fall of the House of Usher is not one of my favorites. It just gets really wordy and confusing for me. But watching it, I was like, oh,
I get it
this
now.
is what's happening.
Yeah.
And even there's one that I didn't even know about, which was The Facts in the Case of M. Valdemar. And I now love that story.
It was breathtaking.
It's an
honestly.
amazing story.
Yeah. I just think they did them all so well. Like the art style in the House of Usher was like gorgeous. I want to draw every single face I see from now on like that. Like everything was very like shape heavy. It was like pointed and like the faces were made out of shapes. It was cool. Uh-huh.
The Fall of the House of Usher was the first one.
I know.
That one had like the cartoon style.
Their faces were pointy and cool.
Oh. I thought
Everyone's
you really liked
face had triangles.
the second one.
I liked all of them. I'm just saying the art style for that one was my favorite.
I thought you liked The Telltale Heart, where it's all black and white.
That one's cool too.
Okay.
I can like more than
I know
one
you
thing.
can. I'm just saying.
No, I mean specifically the Fall of the House of Usher, like just the pointy, like uncomfortable looking shape people. I enjoyed it very much. The Telltale Heart images were really cool. They really played on light and like black and white, like shadowing, which is really cool. The
It
Facts in
really
the
gave
Case of
depth.
M. Valdemar was like the visuals made it actually like terrifying. The old man,
Yeah,
like
his
like
eye.
eyes. It was
Yeah,
just like, oh,
which is
God.
another kind of reference in a Florence and the Machine song. Mm-hmm. Which is the girl with one eye makes me think of that.
Yeah, and the Mask of the Red Death, which is my favorite. It was so beautiful. Like the colors and like the people were creepy as hell. Like
Yeah.
they were scary looking before you found out they had the plague. Like they were not like good looking people. It was all watercolor. It was like really like you could really just see the different hues of like skin. I think the skin was a big thing. Or like the color was really intense. And
Yeah,
everyone was like splotchy and cool.
For sure.
It was watercolor beautifulness.
and it's like that one wasn't narrated.
Yeah.
Because that one's not narrated. That one's just like told, like this is an explanation of what's happening. But it did a really
There's
good
no
job
talking
of like,
until like 3/4 of the way through.
yeah, and it's just what the characters are saying because it's not a narration. So it's like I think it kind of loses a little bit, and that you don't like get to know like the prince's name, so you don't get like those references, and it's not exactly told the way that it's told in the story. Because in the story, it's like you're walking through, and it's each room is color coded, and what's happening in them is reminiscent of the stages of life. And then the last one is death, and that's the one that everyone's been like trying to avoid, and then everyone's dead, and you think you're gonna be Prospero and lock yourself in your castle and you're gonna avoid the plague, but death waits for no man.
Everybody
as they
poops.
say. Everybody poops, everybody dies.
Yep.
2 truths, no lies.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, it's like I didn't even know it was really happening until you explained it to me. That was a true thing from that like specific representation of it. I just thought like visually, it was just very beautiful.
And I felt like in this representation of it, to me, it was like I didn't really get the stages of life, but I really got
The sins.
like 7 deadly sins vibe. Like these people are lustful, these people are sloth, and like that's kind of what colors mean to me too. Even like Prospero wearing purple for pride as like a prince.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with you. I got more of that feel when you said it was the stages of life. I was confused immediately because I was just like, no, those are the sins.
Yeah. Well, because
Every
that's
single
what
room was a sin.
apparently what they teach you in school. But I think it, yeah. I mean, I think this stuff is in for interpretation. I think the gist is that these are royalty people who were partying during a time of crisis when everyone was dying around them. Like that's how the story opens, is that they're burning bodies and then they just close their gates and then they're like, now we're gonna have a party.
Yeah, honestly, I think the lack of words in that way, like I still was like, yeah, no, these people could die.
Yeah.
Like I'm cool with that. They don't seem like they're doing anything good. They're just like, forget the common folk. Let's all just get drunk and have sex and eat a lot and like gamble. And then it's like, yeah, no, you're all really selfish. You can die. It's fine.
Yeah, you can die.
Well, when you're gonna be an asshole, is what you get, man.
Yeah, I think
what I say.
I think Raul Garcia, who's the director of this, did a really great job of bringing each one to life and making them very unique. I enjoyed The Pit and the Pendulum for having Guillermo Del Toro because it's talking about like the Spanish Inquisition. So it like makes sense that we have a narrator that sounds appropriate and that like you can really get into. Yeah, I just think each one was unique and beautiful, and it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. Like, honestly, when you first put it on, I was like, what? This is weird. But I was like, no, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like, at first, I was like, literally, I think it starts with the House of Usher. Am I right? Yeah, and I remember just being like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, can we stop? And then, like, it got, like, part of the way through it, and I was like, oh, no, this is cool. Let's keep going. And then we just watched all of them. But, like, I definitely think it's worth a watch, even if you're, like, just getting... The House of Usher just starts slow. I think that's more so what it was. And I just, like, I wasn't mentally prepared for it.
I think, like, there's a few, like, so, I mean, Edgar Allan Poe has influenced a lot of media. And so, like, there's not a lot of, like, on-the-nose type of things. So, like, later we're going to talk about H.P. Lovecraft. And you'll find that there's a lot of direct references to some of his work and recreations and, like, ways that has manifested into other art. But I feel like Edgar's usually very subtle. Like, he's just this foundation for horror for a lot of things where those things pop up, these themes, these motifs, these things that, like, beginner horror writers learn from. So there's no really, like... I mean, there is a film like The Fall of the House of Usher, which is, like, really bad. And then there's, like, other ones where it's like, someone made a school film about the Telltale Heart or something. But generally, when you're dissecting or finding media in reference to Edgar Allan Poe, you're getting things like Florence and the Machine and her song, or a Simpsons episode even.
Yeah, I mean, it really just goes everywhere. Because the horror is more like the human condition than anything else. Like, the stuff he's writing is about people being messed up and then being, like, haunted by their life choices. Or, like, the things that have happened to them, which is just, like, a real fundamental thing of being a person. So it's really easy to transfer that to anything.
Yeah.
Like, specifically, like, the thing I remember most from Edgar Allan Poe was the Simpsons episode. Like you said, it was Lisa was working on a diorama project. She has a nemesis, or, like, a rival, rather. And she wants to, like, basically, like, sabotage her project because she's used to being the smartest girl in school. And then this girl shows up and she's like, I'm smart too. And she's like, nah, I'm upset about this. So she steals her project, hides it. And then, like, the Telltale Heart, it's under the floorboards, and you can hear the heartbeat of the project, and it's the whole thing. It's like the Simpsons episode, so it was funny, and it's not scary at all, but it's just, like, I remember that vividly, to the point where, like, I knew exactly what scene it was, could look it up on YouTube and show Gabe.
Yes.
Because, like, it's something I just remember very significantly as, like, being the time where I was like, okay, I can do Poe. That's fine.
Yeah, he wrote about, you know, guilt and human flaw and pride and, you know, talked on important things in a really creative and gothic way that I don't think a lot of people were exploring always. And we're going to talk about other people who've done that. And it's going to be a nice surprise, and it's going to be weekly. It's going to be great. We mentioned quite a lot of his different stories. I wanted to kind of talk about... Because we usually do films, but I was like, he is a writer. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about his writing. So specifically the Cask of Amontillado. I'm sure I'm saying it the most white way that you could say that.
Which is funny because, you know.
Yeah. That's how it works. So if you have never heard of that one, the story's narrator, Montresor. I can't do Italian. Montresor tells an unspecified person who's you, the reader, who knows him very well. Who knows him very well of the day he took revenge on Fortunato, which is Italian for the fortunate one, because Poe was not subtle. And, who was a fellow nobleman who had essentially slandered his name. And when you're thinking about, you know, Grizzled and how he kind of is trying to take revenge, it's kind of similar. Because you have Montresor, who's like, this guy has damaged my reputation irreparably. Like, there's no way I'm going to come back from this, and the only way that I can get revenge is to become, like, the judge, jury, executioner and take revenge on this person. And this guy is like, it's so out of the box to think that someone's going to murder you for slandering them that he just goes along and isn't even, like, until the very end is just, like, totally on it for the ride. So essentially he, Montresor, they're at a carnival, so they're dressed up, and Fortunato's dressed up like a jester, or the fool, because that's what he is. And so Montresor kind of coaxes him to go down to the catacombs to get some...
As you do at a carnival.
to get some wine. And that's where, like, his family is buried. And so, like, he keeps going down there. And I always thought it was really... So I have, like, this infatuation with clever villains. So like I love Iago from Othello. Love it. Because he literally does a messed up thing. And the scene before that is him telling the audience, like, hey, I'm going to do this messed up thing. Take a look. And then he hops back into the scene and then he does it.
Yeah.
Love it. It's my favorite. So with this, I thought it was really clever is that he, like, Fortunato is, like, getting ill and he's, like, coughing because of the, like, catacombs and all the dust and stuff. And so Montresor, like, kind of reverse psychologies him, and he's just like, oh, like, we can go back. Like, if you can't handle it, it's like, if you want, I can just give you some wine, but it seems like you can't handle anything. And the guy's like, no, wine. We're jolly. And so
alcohol.
Yeah, this will help my ailments.
Yes, the air and lung suppressant will help me breathe better.
Yeah. And then he just gets progressively drunk as they keep going in. And then they get to this, like, end, and there's, like, there's 4 walls, and each one of them is lined with corpses. But the 4th wall is damaged, and the corpses aren't on there. They're kind of laid to the side. And then he's like, I put the wine around the corner in that little back corner thing. Just go around there. Totally cool. And then he, like, drunkenly walks in there like, where's my alcohol? And then he chains him in there and then starts bricking him inside the wall alive. Brick by brick. And the guy's just like, wait, what?
What are you
There's
doing?
just moments of him just like, what? And then, like, the last thing he says is, like, for the love of God, you know? And then the, like, end is, like, you just hear, like, the jingling of his hat. And there's all these, like, weird things, but I just really enjoyed this, like, character that was like, he talked bad about me, did me wrong, so I buried him alive, and it's 50 years later that I'm telling anyone about it. Believe me, it definitely happened. It's true.
You go down there, he's not alive no more.
Yeah. That was, like, my favorite, like, from school. But
Yeah.
now my new favorite's the case of M. Valdemar.
You went to a smart people school then, because literally we did not read anything by Poe except for the Telltale Heart.
Oh.
Like, guarantee, like, unless, I mean, pretty sure.
Yeah, we did.
I
the
did
Mask of
sleep
the
through a
Red
significant amount of high school because, you know, undiagnosed narcolepsy.
Yeah.
But pretty sure we didn't.
Death. I'm sorry to hear that.
We read
You
the
missed
one
on
about
some
the bug
gold.
people, and that was where was that? We talked about it in an episode before, and the
Metamorphosis or whatever.
one where he's a yeah,
Cockroach.
yeah, when that happens.
Yeah.
We read that.
We were supposed to read that. I didn't.
I don't know if we
We
read.
never
a lot
got
of Poe.
around to Kafka.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Kafka. That's what it was. Yeah, I don't think we read much of Poe. So
Yeah.
you went to a smart school.
No, I'm from Florida, so
Well.
incorrect. We're
Smarter
not
than
smart.
mine.
No.
I don't know.
Still gonna
man.
disagree. We had Jeb Bush. We had no child left behind.
Fair.
Means we all failed. No. What I always enjoyed and about his work, and if you haven't read them, one, they're usually short. They're usually not super long, so you can get in them. Even like Annabelle Lee is super sad, and it's like beautiful, and he's like, my Annabelle Lee. And you're like, oh, he's sad. I feel bad about it. But it's like, he was just like really original. He was really good at just kind of depicting death and morality and the flaws of humans. So, yeah. Did you want to talk about the facts in the case of M. Valdemar?
I mean, it was just really, really amazing in that the whole hypnotism is what kept the dead body from decomposing. I mean, that's the thing that's crazy to me. And then the fact that, like, he was alive, but not. And there was, like, that whole, like, just prolonged suffering element from the fact that they were, like, messing with him while he was dead.
Yeah. And it just makes me think of, like, that, like, you could get answers. So it makes me think of, what's that film where they, like, die so they can get brought back to life?
I know what you're talking about, but I do not know what it's called.
So the film Flatliners.
Yes.
That's what it makes me think of. It's like you die, but you're not dead, and you come back, and then you're like, let me tell you about it. Or even like, there was a film on Netflix where like everyone was dying because someone was like, there is no death, there's an afterlife, I've confirmed it. So then a bunch of people are just committing suicide. It's like a crazy film. It was like pretty dull, but it was like a really great premise.
Yeah.
But like this idea that it's all in, like, that death essentially is controlled by your will. Because, like, his body didn't decompose. So, essentially, this story is that there's a guy who is a hypnotist, and he's like, hypnotism is really important and awesome. It could do so many marvelous things for science.
Power of the brain.
And he wants to conduct an experiment on someone who's about to die. Put them in a hypnotic state right as their brain is, like, dying to see, like, just to see what's going to happen. So, he has a friend who... first, like, kind of brushes him off as nothing, and then curiously falls ill almost immediately after this conversation, where he had admitted, like, well, if I'm gonna die, you can experiment on me. And then he's like, immediately after.
Like, now.
Like, oh, wow, how convenient for you. And so then they talk about it, and he agrees. So then he does that. He hypnotizes him, and he goes to, like, he dies, but then he's not dead. And he's able to talk to him twice. And both times he's like, are you awake? And he's like, no, I'm sleeping. And then it's like, essentially he means, like, he is dead. And at the end, he, like, cries out, like, just let me die. This is awful, because he's stuck in the in-between. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as, like, he's kind of brought out of the hypnotist state, he starts to decompose.
But, like, rapidly.
Yeah, like, because it's been, like, days and days later, or, like, months later, I think.
Yeah, it was months.
That, like, they had been just, like, holding him there, essentially as, like, this vegetable. I felt like they didn't really get a lot out of it. Like, they could have been doing more, but he was also fighting with, like, moral
the
doctors.
scientists, yeah.
The doctor scientists.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was just really interesting. And I've always really liked that concept that, like, the will of the brain, you can survive. Because that's honestly how I plan to survive the rest of my life. I just, like, want to be here, man.
Yeah.
You know, like, if I want to be here enough, nothing will kill me except for the uncontrollables.
Yep.
Which is my biggest fear.
Like your husband with an axe to your head and then he puts you in the walls.
That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
That's why you don't get married. They not only do that, but they also kill your kids. Eat them. They eat them.
They do it all.
Mm-hmm.
Feelings. Yeah, feelings. Yeah, I said feelings. Let's talk about feelings. Okay. And all that spooky stuff. I love spooky stuff.
All right. So if you like it, it's Poe's Philadelphia house.
Yes.
And if you don't like it, it's New York because it sucks. And that's where, he was sad.
Yeah.
I
we
get,
don't actually hate people from New York. I just don't like New York. That's where. What?
and also Philadelphia's better.
Yeah. E-L-G-S. I just spelled Eagles wrong. E-A-G-L-E-S. Eagles. Yeah.
Philly.
Talking about those Eagles.
Yeah, so for for Edgar Allan Poe, I say the Philly house.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy him, and I'm thankful for him, and I'm sad that he died so sad. I'm also sad that he fell in love with his 14-year-old cousin, and that his parents died really quick. One left him and the other one died. And that guy was really mean to him after he died. And I'm sad that Edgar might have been a dick. He probably was. But he made some really nice stuff, and that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I imagine him as just like an angsty teenager being like,
Always.
no one loves me. Let me write about my pain.
I need to brood always.
Everyone knows how much I hurt.
I cannot.
But I'm an artist.
Be happy.
It's for art. That's how he talks. Did you know?
Yeah. And Virginia's like, come on, it's fine.
Your life is really horrible, but also, just like, can you chill?
Also, I have this bad cough. Can we talk about it? And then she died.
Oh, no.
Death.
Well, I'll agree. I think both Philly house. For sure. Just because it's like the staple of horror.
Yeah.
It's a staple. You have to talk about it. You have to know it exists to appreciate the like renditions of it that come later.
Yeah.
Like just aspects of his writing, or at least his like story.
Yeah.
It's in everything. even just like not horror things, like pop culture. It's like referenced all the time. It's in like comedy shows that you wouldn't expect it to be, or just like the themes. They're used in everything. They're universal. There's just human existence, and he does a really great job explaining why humans are freaking scary as hell. We're sad. We murder. We feel guilty
mortal.
about it. We marry our cousins. I mean,
We all do that.
yeah,
Every single
everybody.
one of us has done it.
We've
Who
all
hasn't
married our 14-year-old
murdered
cousin.
a wife and put her in the wall, and also murdered a cat before that, hung it from a tree. Who hasn't done these things?
Who hasn't like hung out with an old person and then like murdered them?
Because their eye was a little weird.
Yeah, you know.
They had a wonky eye.
Yeah. You do that. It's just what happens, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, you bury your sister prematurely and then she haunts you and kills you.
Yeah. And then you don't let people die. You keep them there.
Yeah, forever.
And then also the guy fell into the pit or something.
Yeah. That was
That
one.
was the whole thing.
That was like, torture time.
Yeah, it was a whole time. He
Just
died
like, this
several
is a
deaths.
political statement.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that was
we've all
great.
done
You
that.
can't not appreciate him. Even if you don't like the stories, even if you don't like the renditions of the stories, you have to like give him props and acknowledge the fact that like he did something that has strongly influenced thousands upon thousands of other things.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he was the first one.
Yeah.
Or like one of the first ones who really just like made people understand that people are scary.
OG.
He started the common sense fear.
Yeah. People can murder.
Everyone.
I really just like the idea that it's the same set of cops that went to the Black Hat as the people who went for the Telltale Heart. We're like, we're getting really lucky. We don't even really have to do this like scientific study the clues work that this other guy had to do. The pre Sherlock Holmes guy. We didn't have to have a ratiocination. The guy just told us about it.
Yeah.
We came in and we were like, everything looks fine here. And he's like, it's in the floor. and then the other guy's like, it's all good. He's like, look at these beautiful walls. She's in there.
Yeah, you know,
That's the
guilt.
whole thing.
People give themselves away. It's just like, it's just very real too, because I feel like even in modern day life,
Yeah.
when the dad is on TV acting all devastated about his dead kid and
Or
wife.
doesn't look devastated at all.
Well, yeah, there's like, he tells it. You
Yeah.
immediately are like, this guy,
We are bad liars.
he did it. And then he did. That's what you find out. He admits later that he murdered the crap out of his family. And it's just like,
Yeah.
Poe knew.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He knew.
Sometimes it's not cops. Sometimes it's just your friend, and you're like, yeah, listen, so remember when we buried my sister a few days ago? She wasn't dead, and I've kind of known for a little bit because I keep hearing her crying, but then I was like, should I let her out, or should I just let her go and die back there? And now I'm telling
I should just
you.
let her like die.
Because she was anyway, and I was like, might as well put her out of her misery. By the way, she's haunting us because she did die officially, and she knows that I knew. I'm
Yeah.
glad that you came to my house. It's now going to collapse, so
Good luck
have a good day.
finding a new place.
I'm
to
glad you
live.
dropped all your important business to come visit me, your old friend who didn't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
That's Poe. And then Extraordinary Tales is also Philadelphia House for me. It was great.
I agree. I mean, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was like a breathtaking thing to watch, and definitely worth it.
Yeah. And if you like aren't a reader and you're like, these stories sound dope, do that, because then you'll know. You'll get to get the story without having to read about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess if you're also just like a fan of art, it's just the art style is gorgeous. And like, you have to wonder how long it took to animate all of those things, because it's like really flawless